everybody. Today we're going to talk about this popular topic of death to cookies. We're talking about third-party cookies here. So a little bit of background. Google, several months ago, Google publicly announced that they're going to be phasing out third-party cookies. And third-party cookie data would no longer be available for advertisers to use in their platform, Google Ads. And after about 6 months after that initial announcement, Google came back and revised its time frame. The first notification said that in 2022, third parties were going to be actively removed, basically. They came back later and extended that to 2023. Now, I think Google needs a little bit more time to get its backup plan in order. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I still believe that the imperative for advertisers to move from a third-party cookie-centric approach to a first-party centric approach is still a pretty urgent priority. Now let's just talk about what is first-party data as compared to third-party data. Well, third-party data is, for the most part, data that is provided by a third-party source like Google or Facebook or Apple or Amazon. And oftentimes that third-party data, as it relates to digital advertising, it is collected at the browser level by a cookie. And that allows you as an advertiser to target every single individual based on that unique cookie that was placed in their browser and all the information that gets recorded with that cookie. That is what's most commonly thought of as third-party data-based advertising. And that's what's going away. Why does that really matter? That matters because when that goes away, your ability to target individuals and to remarket to them is going to be greatly compromised. So what Google is preparing now is something called FLoC, Federated Learning of Cohorts. So it's saying instead of having an individual that's cookie-based, we're going to create a small group of people that share similar characteristics, similar recent browsing history or other online activity, shared inferred interests, and we're going to treat them as a FLoC, as a little cohort or a group of people who are very, very similar. And we want to allow advertisers to reach these small cohorts of users in much the same way as they used to reach the individuals that were cookie-based. Now, this is untested, and I think Google also knows that this is a less perfect model than third-party cookies. So what Google is now asking, and Google is very vocal about this, they're asking advertisers and marketers to supplement these FLoCs with their own first-party data. First-party data is the data that those advertisers and marketers control directly. Oftentimes, this is data that lives on your servers. You own it, you control it. So these are things like email addresses, or this could be other different demographic data that you have about your customers, their purchase history, their interests, if you've captured that through any kind of surveying or forms, how much time they spend on sites, and even all the data that is coming from the usage of the product itself. All of that is first-party data. And what Google is saying is, we're moving from third-party cookies to these so-called FLoCs. We know that these FLoCs have gaps, and we need you, advertiser, to give us your first-party data to fill in those gaps, to improve the FLoC models, so that those FLoC models can then perform better for you and deliver you, as an advertiser, a higher return on ad spend. So this is a little bit of a promise and a request from Google. Google is saying, please give us your first-party data, and I know that that's hard and you haven't done this before, but if you give us your first-party data, then the implied promise back to you is better return on ad spend. And that is now the future we're heading into. So I think when it comes to first-party data, a lot of people, first of all, need to identify what is it and where is it, and then think about ways that you can try to get even more first-party data from users, either at the time of acquisition, maybe by asking them certain questions about how they might be using the product so that you can start segmenting them better, and even throughout their lifetime with the product to try to just constantly and progressively be getting more and more data that they would voluntarily give that can help you ultimately understand them better, serve them better, and then be able to give that first-party data back to Google so that your acquisition engine can run better. So this is a new brave world that we're entering. Google did push the goalposts out to 2023, but it doesn't mean that advertisers can sit back and relax. I think everyone needs to move pretty quickly and urgently towards a world of first-party data-led digital marketing. So if you like that video, please subscribe to the channel. You get more videos like this. You can also find us on LinkedIn. There's great content every day there. Thanks a lot.